Welcome back to My Dad Watches The Bachelor. I'm Meredith, and I'm here with my co-host, my dad.
Good morning, Meredith. How you doing today?
I'm doing well, always missing my old pops when we get to the hometown episodes.
There were some very nice family situations last night, and I got to tell you, I was pretty excited after watching the episode. I was pretty gassed up. I had a hard time getting to sleep last night.
I'm not sure why. I'm assuming you'll tell us why. I do think I know why, but I don't really know who the person is.
Well, we're going to get to that, so I'm pretty excited. It was pretty good, happy surprise for me.
All right, well, should we get into the highs?
Let's do it.
Do you want to start?
Okay. Well, so, not to tease it out too long, but up until yesterday, if you had asked me who Patrick Warburton is, I would have had a very blank stare. And probably when you ask me tomorrow, I'll probably have that same blank stare. But he is the actor who played David Puddy on Seinfeld, and he was Zach's uncle. And he was on the show during the family visits, the hometown visits. And I was just tickled that David Puddy got to be on the Bachelor show. So that made me very happy. And I went back and was watching YouTube clips of the highlights of David Puddy. So anyway, that was a big highlight for me.
Yeah, I don't know who that is. I've never watched Seinfeld, but I have been told that he also voiced Kronk in The Emperor's New Groove. Which I have seen.
Okay, not familiar with that. And he's also done, I think he was doing maybe Enterprise car commercials. Anyway, funny guy. And during the credits, it had some conversation with him and Rachel, and it made me smile. So that made me happy. So that was one of my highlights. But I have more.
Give them to me.
So Gabby visits Jason in New Orleans, and I'm really enjoying all the locales not all the locales, many of the locales that we're visiting this season. I'm a big fan of New Orleans, so I enjoyed watching New Orleans, and I chuckled when Gabby was up on a balcony with some beads, yelling at old men to flash her in order to throw beads down. That made me chuckle a little bit.
I put that as a high as well. That was giving me a good laugh.
I enjoyed most of the hometown visits, and we had 3 fellows that Gabby is still seeing, and 4 that Rachel's still seeing, and we had all the hometown visits except Avon. Not sure. I guess we just couldn't fit it in, and I guess we'll get to go to Avon's hometown next week. But I enjoyed most of them. I sort of chuckled a bit during Jason's visit. He first gets to meet the father. I assume the parents are divorced because they had separate meetings and met with the father in the park. Then they go to Jason's house. His mother and his sister and the sister's boyfriend is there. And we don't really see much from the boyfriend, but he's sort of sitting on the couch, and he just, they're talking about this one-on-one date that Jason and Gabby had in Paris, and he seems to be stretching out. He looks to me like he's probably not getting out of town much. He looks to me like he might be working at the gas station, and hearing all these wonderful things seem to be grating on him a little bit. Was that my imagination, or did you pick up on that?
I can honestly say I did not even notice this man that you're speaking of.
Well, see, I guess I'm watching more closely than you.
I liked Jason's sister, though. She sits down with Gabby and immediately is like, okay, like, what embarrassing stories do you want to know about Jason? I thought Jason did great. I put as a high just Jason in general. Like, you could tell he was more comfortable during this date than he's ever been. Like, he's dancing around the streets of New Orleans. Also, if you notice, he did tip the street musicians, which I thought shows a lot to his character. I love Jason. If Gabby doesn't end up with Jason, I think I'm going to be sad. Just like I was sad when Nate left.
I got to tell you, I found Jason, I thought Jason was pretty uncomfortable during this date. I thought when they were interviewing him before the date, he just didn't have a lot to say. And I know he's a quiet person.
That's who he is, but he was more
But
comfortable than he was before.
it just to me he felt awkward and uncomfortable. So I didn't I think he's a good guy, and I probably have more trust in him than the other two guys that she is still seeing. But I don't know. I didn't get that warm a feeling there. But anyway,
I just think that if Gabby picks Jason, she will end up like they'll stick together. It'll be a good relationship. I think if she picks anyone else, it's not lasting longer than a year.
I think he's the one that's got more longer term, is much more likely to be in it for the longer term. So, as a high, I put Tyler, who had his hometown and date in his hometown of Wildwood, New Jersey. And during the date, Rachel comes to the conclusion that he ain't the guy, and she shouldn't bring the family into this, and she breaks up with him. And I thought that he took the breakup like a champ. I admired the way he handled it. And I wrote down that he is future Bachelor material if things don't work out with Nate.
No, absolutely not.
Why not?
He's just not Bachelor material. He'll do well in Paradise. That's the extent of Tyler.
I think Tyler will be seen again, whether it be in Paradise or on as the Bachelor. That is my
He doesn't
opinion.
have the it factor to be the Bachelor. Like, ladies aren't lining up to date Tyler. Ladies aren't lining up to date a man who owns a booth at the Jersey Shore.
Yeah, that was a problem, wasn't it?
That's a big no to me. Big red flag.
And the last thing that I had down for a high was, Rachel goes through a pretty rough meeting with Tino's parents. Who
You enjoyed that?
I didn't enjoy that, but what I did enjoy was after it, she's sort of off camera, I assume talking to a producer or somebody. I don't know who she's talking to, and she is just throwing back some red wine. They're saying how that was really bad. I thought I was going to lose it, and she's got a big glass of red wine, and she's just hitting it. That made me laugh.
Okay, well, I'm sure we'll get more into Tino's hometown as we continue today. My only other high, I thought it was very sweet that Zach took Rachel to watch the planes take off, since that was like their big childhood bonding moment on their first date. We were texting during the episode. I think we're both big Team Zach guys here. Rachel loves Tino, but like the good pick here is Zach. The correct pick here is Zach.
Yeah, especially since now you're going to be related to a B-list celebrity, and you might get to meet Jerry Seinfeld or Julia Louis-Dreyfus or somebody like that. When you'll be going to some parties.
Well, I mean, Rachel will be like a C-list celeb in and of herself.
Well, David Puddy's sort of a B-plus list celeb, so there you go.
Okay. Are we good with highs?
Yes, we're good with highs.
Okay. My first low was Tyler not realizing that he's getting dumped and like word vomiting about how he's in love with Rachel. Like he couldn't read her. He couldn't read the situation. It was very tough to watch.
It was a slow motion car crash that was going on there, and that he was professing his love, how Rachel made it safe for him to love again, and the whole time she's not got this I'm so happy look. She's got this
please shut up.
I'm about to start crying look. And he did not pick up on verbal cues there.
No, Rachel kept trying to start the breakup, and then he would kind of cut her off and keep talking about how amazing she was, how in love with her he is, and you could tell she just like she didn't know what to do.
Well, along those lines, I put Cold Days on the Jersey Shore, in that I know that you have visited the Jersey Shore during the summertime. I suspect it's a little bit different there. I mean, it looked pretty chilly when Tyler was showing Rachel the Wildwood, New Jersey boardwalk. Have you been to Wildwood, New Jersey?
I have not, but I've been close and I've heard that it's, not the classiest of areas.
I think that I stayed there once many years ago, and it didn't leave a big impression, either positive or negative. But Tyler is just thriving on showing Rachel, all the corn dogs and fried dough and winning
Arcade games and Ferris
overstuffed
wheels.
animals, and I almost got the impression that Rachel started the date, like, hey, I'm glad it's with Tyler. It's going to be a great day. And then as we sort of went through the date, and Tyler is introducing Rachel to Sal and Sal's dad, and he knows everybody, and she sort of maybe it's clicking in that my future with this guy is I'm going to be here on the Jersey Shore forever and never leave. And I think something clicked and said, "Oh no, this ain't it." And I was expecting Bruce Springsteen to walk by and in an overcoat or something like that. So unfortunately, Jersey Shore in the winter, yikes,
It was
no
also
go.
rough. It's also rough to see, you know, Tyler's family waiting for them to come, like so excited to meet Rachel, and then Tyler having to come in and break the news that he just got dumped. Like it was just all around an uncomfortable thing to watch. I felt very bad for him, but I wasn't surprised.
Yeah, and I don't know how that works. And I guess that when they do these hometowns, they've got a crew set up in the family's home, and they're talking and sort of interviewing the family a little bit about their expectations and can't wait to meet Rachel, blah, 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 blah. And then poor Tyler comes in solo, and they're looking and looking, and Rachel ain't coming.
Sad times on the Jersey Shore.
Sad day.
Another low for me, let's just stay in the sad stuff. Eric's hometown is revolving around his dad, who has terminal cancer, how he doesn't have a lot of time left. Eric doesn't want to have a day date with Gabby. He'd rather just go see his family. It's just very sad in general.
Yeah, very, very serious, very, very sobering.
Yeah, very different from a Johnny hometown date, a Jason hometown date. It is very sobering. And we do see at the end of the episode, and I saw on Instagram before the end of the episode that Eric's dad did pass away last month.
Well, I did not pick up on that, but Eric had said that they had gone through some times when they perhaps didn't expect him to still be with us. So I guess nice that he was able to visit and meet Gabby. We'll see how things turn out there.
I thought it was interesting just that they would have even agreed to go on the show and be a part, not Eric agreeing, but the parents, the family agreeing to be filmed with everything going on. Also, like, makes me think about, is Eric going to force a relationship with Gabby just because she's probably the last person his dad got to meet girlfriend-wise, like get the approval of? Could he hold on to that and force it even if it's not something that's right? And also at the same time, like, I'm a little frustrated with Eric because he shouldn't have been on the show if his dad has terminal cancer, if he only has so much time left. Like, maybe he should have spent that with his family.
It's good to hear that you think like that. That makes me feel happy.
If you have a terminal illness and you're dying, I promise I will not go on a dating show.
That's good parenting by me. Thank you.
Do you have any other thoughts on Eric and his hometown?
No, not maybe later. Not right now.
Okay.
And and I did have a low as Tino's parents, who really
That's my last low as well.
Okay, who really put the hammer down both on Tino and on Rachel, and Tino was saying, "Oh, my parents are going to love you. This isn't a big deal," and I don't think the parents watched the show, in that they don't seem to sort of get the premise of, yeah, we're going to get engaged, but it's not really an engagement because 95% of the time these things don't work out.
Yeah, and if they do, we're going to date for like 3 years and then get married.
Yeah, they're very much. How you just met each other? It sound like me, like you just met
Well,
each other.
I'm surprised that this is your low. You love some good realistic parents.
Yeah, but I thought they were jerky.
Yeah, I wrote that they're being way too realistic for reality TV.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm not pro getting my daughter married off on reality TV, but if I was dragged into this, I maybe because the fact that you and I actually watched the show, I think I would have been a little bit more. Oh, it's great to meet you. Fine, whatever. If it works out, it works out. I hope you choose my daughter or my daughter chooses you. I don't know.
Yeah, I felt bad for Rachel. I think if I had been in a similar situation, I would have been like very close to tears as well.
Yeah, I can see that. It felt like a no-win situation for Rachel in that one.
And then she has to be fake, thank you so much for having us. This has been so great. I really appreciate the hard-hitting questions. It shows how seriously you're taking this.
Well, she handled that well. I thought that was pretty smooth. It wasn't like saying, I really like your son, but you two are jerks, so I'm probably ditching him pretty soon because
Yeah,
of
but
you.
you could tell it's fake. Like her voice got like an octave higher than it normally is.
Yeah, well,
Any other lows?
I think you got my lows covered.
Okay. I have two to three-ish right reasons. First off, I thought Jason and Johnny, because they're both not ready to get engaged at this point, it was a surprise to hear, especially from Jason. Like Johnny's 25, I get that. But Jason comes out of nowhere, tells his mom, yeah, like I like her, but I'm not ready to get engaged at this point, which is such a normal thing to say.
Yeah, I thought he should be in Tino's family.
And I think that Jason's mom was very upset that he said this. She seemed like she was like, are you sure she's so great? I don't want you to lose something that's so great because you're scared. Like, you should get engaged to her.
See, now, correct me if I'm wrong, but did we earlier in the season find out that Jason has had some therapy issues and just sort of had to sort some things out in his life? I mean, I almost got the impression from his mom and family, like she's great. This is going to be really good for your mental health. You need to proceed with this and, move out of the basement. I don't know.
That's not the vibe I got at all.
I
just think he has emotional parents. Like his dad was emotional too. His mom's emotional. I think that they're just like, they want what's best for him.
Well, so I have to tell you that for wrong reason, I put Jason and Johnny in that, they both expressed that they might not be ready to be engaged. And I just sort of felt like, well, look, Rachel, on the one hand, I know we're talking different people, Gabby, Rachel sort of figures this out. She just puts the kibosh on going to Tyler's house. Johnny and Jason, it's like, yeah, I'm going along with this. I don't really think I'm ready to get engaged, but let's, maybe I'll get some fantasy suite action. I don't know, but it just seems to me like I thought that this far down the road, they should have been a little bit more committed.
I think it's been 6 weeks and you're saying they should be more committed. They've probably spent a cumulative like 12 hours with Gabby.
Isn't it funny how we've changed hats throughout this whole thing?
I think that the Bachelor franchise as a whole needs to move away from the engagement. Like, it's just not realistic. No one believes it. They don't work out most of the time. Like, it should be Matt James's season ended with him not proposing to Rachel, but they're still dating, almost 2 years later. They're doing well. And I think that should be normal. It shouldn't be like some big commitment that you're making to each other. It's like, okay, like we're in a relationship now. We're going to try this out. And I think that's normal. I think Gabby's not ready for an engagement. I don't think I think deep down she knows she's not ready for that either. I think she would be fine with just being in a relationship with one of them. I think Rachel wants an engagement. I think Rachel, if she doesn't get one, she's going to cry and say that she shouldn't be the bachelorette and she doesn't deserve this and blah, blah, blah. But I think Gabby would be okay without a ring.
I think you're right about that, and that would be more realistic, but that doesn't necessarily make it good reality TV. But that's more real life than
There's
what you're
plenty of
proposing.
great dating shows that don't end in an engagement, like
Okay.
Love Island. Great show.
Okay. Well,
My other right reason
Go
was
ahead.
Tyler. You already discussed this. Being a class act during the breakup, even though he totally just like put his foot in his mouth, looked like a total idiot during it. He did well. He was very mature about it. He was comforting Rachel. Like, it was all backwards, and he's just a good guy. I think he'll do well in Paradise.
Yeah. No, I think that's good. He sort of left it all on the field. He put it all out there, expressing his love, and what a great day this has been, the best day of his life or whatever. So, sorry, Tyler, rest in peace. You're a good guy. I'm not giving up on you as being the bachelor, but obviously if you are, Meredith ain't, she's not going to be putting in her application for being on the show. So.
Yeah, I won't be thrilled to be podcasting about it either.
All right. Well, for my right reason, I put supportive dads, because with the exception of Tino's dad, we had a lot of supportive dad work out there. Jason's dad, meeting him in the park, Zach's dad, who seems like a really cool guy that you want to hang out with, as well as his brother-in-law, David Putty. Johnny's dad, who seems desperate to get Johnny off the family payroll and get him married off. And, Eric's dad, who, that was a sad one with cancer, but, good that he was able to be there for Eric. And so I put supportive dads should be our right reason for the week.
I like that. My wrong reason is Rachel for even going on a hometown date with Tyler. She shouldn't have given out that fourth rose, just like how Gabby didn't give her fourth rose to Spencer, because we would have just been in the same situation where she doesn't actually want to meet Spencer's family. And I think anyone with eyes can see that her relationship with Tyler just doesn't compare to what she has with Aben, Zach, or Tino.
Yeah, but I will say at the beginning of the date, I felt that there was still some potential there, and I just thought that the future of living on the boardwalk in New Jersey and shoveling out snow cones for the rest of her life was what turned her there. But you could be right.
She was turned before then. Before the date even started, she was talking about how she's like the furthest behind with Tyler.
Well, I mentioned my wrong reasons, and I'll just say, Jason surprised me that he wasn't further along, and
I was surprised by that as well. But he is a normal dude, so it makes sense.
Okay, Johnny didn't surprise me. To me, Johnny is who he thought. He's the guy that we thought he was, and that to me, he strikes me as a player, and
he's 25 years old.
He's 25 years old. He's got more seeds to sow.
He looked like he was hoping his parents would tell him not to do it, and they kept saying go for it, and he's like, oh crap, this was my out, and it's gone.
Yeah, I wasn't his dad that said, well, what's wrong here? The finances, you guys will figure it out.
Yeah, he's like, it's not the maturity. Like, you're mature enough for this. Finances, you'll figure it out down the road.
Yeah, get out of the basement. Come on, Johnny. We're ready for you to move out now.
Yeah, I have heard spoilers, not about the season, but about Paradise.
Does Johnny show up in Paradise?
Should I say what happens to Johnny in Paradise?
Well, didn't we see a preview where Gabby was berating Johnny, saying you're not mature enough, and
so Johnny doesn't win, people.
Yeah. Where Johnny, I'm pretty confident Johnny's going home soon.
Okay, if you don't want the Paradise spoiler, like, go ahead 30 seconds because Johnny gets engaged in Paradise.
Oh, good for so he's not getting engaged now, but he's going to get engaged in Paradise.
Yeah, the finances must work themselves out between now and then.
Okay, well, good for Johnny. There's a happy ending out there for Johnny somewhere.
Yeah. I don't know if you remember Victoria from Pilot Pete's season, but she was kind of one of the villains. That's who he ends up engaged to.
Queen Victoria?
Not Queen Victoria. That's from Matt's season. This is a different Victoria. She's the one that was dating the country music star, Chase Rice, and they like went on a date and he was singing and she's like, oh crap, I used to bang him.
I do remember that. Okay.
Yeah, so congrats to the happy couple.
All right. Well, who's your MVP this week?
I thought that I would switch it up a little. And since it's hometown weeks and we love supportive dads, I want you to pick an MVP because honestly, I couldn't pick one.
Wow, you're putting me on the spot. I'm going to have to check my notes, but can I give it to David Puddy?
That's who I wrote at first. I wrote Zach's Uncle Pat.
Yeah, Uncle Pat. I think he's the MVP. I think he just made me happy. He, during the credits, Rachel asked him for a high five, which you have to be a Seinfeld fan, and I sent you some Seinfeld clips of David Puddy to understand the high five thing because that was making Elaine sort of nutty. But
I didn't get that, and I didn't watch the clip. I was hoping she would ask for like a classic Kronk quote from Emperor's New Groove. Like,
I don't think that's where the public is. I think it's more of a Seinfeld David Puddy thing, but I guess it's generational.
Rachel's my generation. I feel like someone probably told her to do that. I don't see her watching Seinfeld.
Yeah, you're missing. It's an acquired taste, but once you get it, it's very good taste. So, are you going to do fatherly advice, or do I still get to do that?
No, you can do that too. I don't have any fatherly advice prepared.
Well, and before we say that, let's just say that based on our picks right now, all 4 of the picks that you made are still in the game.
I know. I'm impressed. But both of your winner picks are still here.
Yeah, both of my winner picks are still
here. Zach and Eric. Okay, before we go to fatherly advice, based off of what we know now, who's your winner still for each of them?
I'm still sticking with Zach for Rachel, and I think I would say Jay. We now know that Johnny ain't going to be the guy, and I think you and I knew that for a while. But I think I would go with Jason. I think Jason is more likely to end up with Gabby.
So those were your picks last week. I'm switching both of my picks this week. I'm going from Tino to Zach because I just don't see how you end up with Tino after the showing that his parents gave. And I'm switching from Jason to Eric because I don't know, like she seems more into Eric than she does Jason.
No, Eric's a handsome fellow. I mean, they're all handsome fellows. And again, to me, one of the question marks that we've got is who was the COVID guy? Logan. He's just disappeared. I hope he's still alive. I hope COVID didn't take him.
There are a lot of conspiracy theories about what happened with Logan, and no one thinks the COVID's true. I'm not sure like what people think, but it's just not. They don't believe COVID. Like we never saw the clip of Jesse telling Logan to pack his bags, get out of here. And it seemed weird that if he actually had COVID, like they didn't ever quarantine anyone. They weren't testing people. Like they didn't even tell the guys that that's what happened. Like, oh, you might have COVID. Logan has COVID. Like they didn't even tell the guys that Logan had COVID.
Well, at least not from what we saw. Maybe they told the guys, and just the fact that we know that Logan had COVID, I assume they're doing daily testing or something. So I don't know.
Logan's like Instagram post about his time on the show ending didn't mention anything about COVID. So
that's very strange.
So it's interesting. I'm not sure I believe the COVID story. So maybe in a year or two from now, once Logan's out of his contract, we can hear the real scoop.
Well, maybe we'll learn some more next week when The Men Tell All.
Can't wait.
All right. Well, look. So first off, I'm going to give you a dad fact, not dad advice. Dad fact. This is a fact.
Okay.
Here's the thing: we just want our kids to be happy. We want to protect them. And watching Tyler's mom hear that Rachel isn't coming was, hit me a bit. And that we. All we want to do is we want you to be happy. We're trying to protect you from bad stuff, and sometimes we can't, and it kills us. And I suspect that even Tino's parents, that's the way that they're thinking. They were sort of jerky about it, but they're trying to protect Tino from this awful woman that's stealing their son after only 6 weeks or however long they've been together. And in real life, I fear I'm probably more like Tino's dad than these other dads, which, that doesn't make me that happy. But anyway, dad fact, your parents, we love you. We're trying to protect you. We can't do it all the time, and it hurts. But anyway, so some dad advice. I think Eric's mom talked a lot about commitment and sticking with it. And I guess she's had to be a caretaker. So, the whole commitment issue, also touched on by Jason and touched on by Johnny and being there for the long haul, because we're going to have ups and downs, and you gotta have that commitment and stick with it. So, very important. And, something that struck me, after the family date that Eric and Gabby had when they visited the family, and then they, with Eric's father, who was very ill, they went out, it looked like to some restaurant or something to talk. And then, they seemed to be having this big makeout session. Not cool. Don't be doing that in the restaurant. Get a room. As far as the public display of affection, holding hands, hugs, some quick kissing, that's okay. But if you're going to have that steamy makeout session, let's not do it in the public restaurant. Let's get a little more private there.
That's some great advice.
You're welcome.
Great.
You're welcome.
They'll get a room in 2 episodes.
Yeah, well, I'm sure I'll have some thoughts on that as well.
All right. We'd like to thank The Mesh for hosting our podcast. And if you like what you're hearing, feel free to give us a 5-star rating and subscribe so you never miss an episode. And join us next week as we discuss Avon's hometown date and our favorite episode, The Men Tell All, from the right perspective and my dad's.